Shami Yashar'AL. AHAYAH, Alahyanawah, Accad, Shabbat, Shalawam, Barak, Athah. Welcome to World War III. Our reference today will be Galatians chapter 5, verses 19 through 21. And the subject matter will be the law of inheritance. Now, Thomas Jefferson, writer and signer of the Declaration of Colonial Independence from England, or English rule, quote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Now, folks, the all men are created equal part did not extend unalienable rights to the so-called Negro Slaves, or African Americans at that time. Here, we want to differentiate the organic Constitution from its amended form. As a reminder, Indigenous Hebrew Israelite Awakening is not a racist religious group. We simply live here. The organic Constitution separated Indians and other peoples, or also called 3/5 of a person. So it made a separation. Again, thus making the organic Constitution a separatist document. Some may call racist, but we're not going to go there. It's a separatist document. In a letter, and this is for Christians as well. This is for not just, I want to reiterate, again, we're not a racist religious hate group. I'm a Hebrew Israelite, but I'm here to give this information to you guys freely so that you guys can come out and from the stupor that integration has taught us all. Now, what Christians have done is that they've said, okay, the United States was a Christian nation. We're going to touch on that. In a letter dated October 7, 1801, the Danbury Baptist Association in Connecticut, I believe, called their newly elected president of the United States both Esquire and Chief Magistrate. You will find these two terms run along a royal definition in the English language. We also have Military Law Review, Volume 104, page 2, the United States Supreme Court in Cohens versus Virginia, that's Cohens versus Virginia, 19 U.S. 264, and this was in 1821, that it made the United States government, the government company, a sovereign state, and its president, chief executive of its company of people, a supreme ruler. Again, the United States, in this case, is the institutional descendant of the English crown. One more time, the United States is an institutional descendant of the English crown. So again, this letter that they wrote in October 7 of 1801 to the Danbury Baptist, from the Danbury Baptist Association to their newly elected chief magistrate and Esquire, they were asking about what's up with this separation, what's up with this, And in January 1st, I believe, of the following year, he responded, hey, look, there's a separation of church and state. So, and this is the thing that Christians use to say, okay, yeah, Christianity was in the making of the United States. We'll come back to that. Now, for us Hebrew Israelites, we have to face a Dred Scott decision. The Dred Scott case, Dred Scott versus Stanford, 60 U.S. 393. And this happened in 1857. Remember that, 1857, the Dred Scott case came out. And it was a judgment that reversed the suit, and it dismissed for the lack of jurisdiction, that the Supreme Court said that it could not go into the states' laws and change their laws. So they said, hey, we're an entity for the federal case system. We're not an entity for the states back at that time. And that same judge said that persons of African descent cannot be, nor were ever intended, that's the word, intended to be a citizen of the United States. Colonial contract and the institutional inherited contract. That's what they're talking about. Again, that was all thrown away on December 1865 with the 13th Amendment. Now you have an amendment to this organic constitution saying, hey, we're going to change a little bit of our inherited contract, and we're going to add to it. We're going to change it a little bit so that they can identify some extra things that are on their organic contract. And they amended it in December 6, 1865, the 13th Amendment, which is also known as one of the Reconstruction period amendments and Reconstruction period acts. So they changed the organic constitution, which was not the original intent of the Constitution, but they changed it so that they ended chattel slavery, and not slavery in general, but just chattel slavery. So slavery still exists, folks, even though we have this 13th Amendment. Again, criminal and penal codes is slavery. July 9th, 1868, the 14th Amendment to the Constitution. The amended the original intent of the Constitution so that it can say Indians, black people, and all these other people can be citizens. And then we have overrule again. We have the in February 3rd of 1870, we have the 15th Amendment. And again, let's not skip over the Civil Rights Act of 1866. So in 1868, you have the 14th Amendment, which made citizens. But prior to that, you have 1866 Civil Rights Act that said, hey, black people are citizens of the United States. It was an act. Remember that, in 1866. So like an actor today, he changes his name to have a stage name. He or she is not really using their birth name, but they're using a stage name as a straw man to say, hey, I'm going to get paid by this stage name. So that's pretty much what a Civil Rights Act does. People are only acting in a way that the government, this inherited document, says for them to act. They don't really necessarily have to believe that the act is true, but they're just acting upon what the words say in the document. We're going to act. That's basically what's happening here. So the federal government, which is a company of peoples, it amended its sovereign inherited document to allow Negroes and other people to function minimally under its overreaching authority. The several governing states, do pretty much, they just follow what the federal government says now. And we have 3 enforcement acts, which were renamed, 3 KKK acts, 3 Ku Klux Klan acts, 3 of them in the 1870s. and there are statutes laws, which statute laws are like the highest laws of the nation. 17 Statute 3, Public Law 42-22, and it's codified as 42 USC subsection 1983, also known as the KKK Act. And this act, people are supposed to pay attention to, ethnicities or religion or, minorities. If a minority civilian has an issue, they're supposed to use this 42 USC subsection 1983. And again, the government likes to protect itself, so it's a sovereign entity from a sovereign inherited contract. It doesn't have to pay attention to this minority USC code. Now, the final note that I want to discuss in this segment, the Organic Constitution, which is a company contract of the United States, it acts as emulation. And what an emulation is that it looks to make itself equal or better than somebody else. Like the emulation over the Native Americans. Manifest Destiny came and conquered all their lands, made treaties after treaty with the Native Americans, and then they broke them all so that they can have a better footage in the United States, so that they can complete their manifest destiny from the East Coast to the West Coast and into the Pacific. And again, our big sister, Phyllis Wheatley, as we mentioned in a video before, our big sister, Phyllis Wheatley, told us that the founders of the patriotic government and their document worshipped Columbia, which is an equivalent to the Queen of Heaven. And she's not the God of the Bible, but she's, the God, the Bible specifically mentions her in the Bible, the Queen of Heaven. So for a Christian to say, hey, the United States was found based upon the Bible, well, you have every right to believe that. But for the Negro, for the blacks, for the melanated people, and for us Hebrew Israelites, we have to go off of what our ancestors said. And basically, big sister Phyllis Wheatley told us that your forebears worshiped the Queen of Heaven, and the biggest proof of that is the New York Harbor with a woman you call Lady Liberty. She's still there today. And again, this government company not only asked its adherents or its civilians of this inherited document, they asked them or even forced them to comply by it. And it's not fair for indigenous people who are still on reservations today for, anyone to say, the United States is equal in anything when they still have this emulation over people. And I'm going to put all the links in the bottom. You guys can go check that out. And again, check out the word emulation. It's basically somebody trying to again be better, be equal or better to somebody, stealing, killing, and massacring people. That's basically what I wanted to say. It's hot out here. I need to go inside now. I am your Hebrew Israelite. I am a minister of peace, and I'm also a conscientious objector. Hebrew Israelite out.